Forces at work. In our everyday life, there are different types of forces acting on things around us. The interaction between forces and the objects can change the direction, speed, or even the shape of objects. Let's explore in the next few investigations to see the effects of forces on different objects. This block is resting on the horizontal plank. It is not moving as only gravitational force is acting on the block. What will happen if one end of the plank is raised? The block moves down and finally comes to a stop. Which force caused the block to finally stop moving? Frictional force that is acting on the block. Let's add powder to the surface and compare what happens when both blocks are released from the same height at the same time. The block moves down more quickly on the plank with powder than on the one without powder. Why is that so? Even though the surfaces of the block and plank may look smooth to us, they are actually uneven as seen on an enlarged view. When powder is poured on the plank, the powder fills in the gaps, so when the block moves over the plank, there is less frictional force between them. Look at this ball. What happens when it is thrown up vertically? It moves up and falls back to the ground. Let's see the motion again. Which force causes the ball to move from A to B? Gravitational force is acting on the ball to pull it down. What if the ball is thrown at an angle? It moves upwards before moving downwards to the ground. It has also moved across a distance. Let's take a closer look in slow motion. What causes the ball to move downwards from E to F? Again, it is the gravitational force acting on the ball. If the ball is released from here, what will you observe about the height of the ball when it next bounces? It bounces to a lower height than the point from which it was released. At which point, G, H, and I is gravitational force acting on the ball. Gravitational force is acting at G, H, and I. In fact, gravitational force is acting on the ball throughout. Why did the ball bounce back up to a lower height than the height it was dropped from? As the ball drops, it is acting against the frictional force between air and the ball. As it bounces up from H to I, it is again acting against the frictional force between the air and the ball. Therefore, the ball bounces back up to a lower height than it was first dropped. Now a ball is hung from a string and pulled to position J. What happens if the ball is released? The ball swings. Let's look at the motion again. Note that the final position is lower than the original position J. What is the force that causes the ball to move from J to K and from L to K? The ball moves from J to K due to gravitational force acting on it. It also moves from L back to K due to the gravitational force acting on it. From these experiments, we have learned that forces can act on stationary and moving objects. Frictional force can slow down or stop a moving object. Frictional force can be reduced with the addition of substances such as powder. Gravitational force acts on all objects, and gravitational force causes objects to fall to the ground.